Good evening, viewers. Tonight we are back to the show. Uh, Tuesday we plan to bring for you an episode on book review, and tonight we have a guest in the studio that I would like to introduce. He is a published author of one of let me not say the best-selling book, but he will tell us. But it's a good book. I've read it, and I can credit it. So welcome, William Mukaria. Just briefly introduce yourself, and we can start from there.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Eric, for this session to interact with viewers, and good evening, viewers, and good morning in case you are outside of this time zone. Yeah, it's a privilege, and it's a great opportunity to be here to have this conversation tonight. My name is William Mukaria, as introduced. I'm the author of The Big Leap. The Big Leap is about entrepreneurship. It's about those things that we really talk about. Some we have answers, others we don't have answers. So it's all about business. It's all about entrepreneurship. From career perspective, William is a business executive. I've worked with many organizations from career perspective. And I also have had the privilege of working in quite a number of countries in this beautiful continent of Africa. I've had chances to work in Kenya, in the Seychelles Republic, in Tanzania, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and also in Rwanda. So currently, I'm working as the managing director for Rwanda and also Kenya operations with Educate. And I think what I do right now is something that we don't talk a lot. I think what we talk most is about the book and the content and business and those conversations. But aside that, I'm also an executive working with very respected non-governmental organizations, which has operations across East Africa. And I serve as the managing director for both countries, Rwanda and Kenya. Yeah, so Educate, what we normally do is we work with the youth. We we empower youth. We give youth those skills that they need to succeed in their endeavors, whether it's at workplace, whether it's a business. We really give them those skills that we believe ordinarily they wouldn't get them from school. So those are the skills that we work to impart youth with, primarily the post-secondary youth. So that they can just step out and be useful in their community, start a business, or get engaged in something meaningful in whatever field they feel they want to do that. But really to do that with the right skills that they need to succeed. Yeah, so Eric, I think, and viewers, those are that's the brief introduction about myself. And yeah, again, welcome, and I'm really happy to have this conversation today.
Yeah, to our viewers, we welcome you to ask questions. So you can forward your questions through the comment section. We will highlight them or ask the author to respond to them. You can also share your compliment or your criticism if there need be. It helps in improving what we are doing. So I want to ask you, why did you choose the title The Big Leap?
Yeah, I chose the title The Big Leap because usually is the big leap. The book talks about starting your own business. How do you go about that? The title Big Leap, basically, it's drawn from that aspect that most people are afraid to start something, and that's something that's something that you find very common with most people. So you have all these people with the big ideas, but really getting into work and starting doing something becomes very difficult. So the big leap is because actually when you start a business, whether you're out of work, or you haven't found a job, or you've been retrenched, whenever you decide that yes, I want to do this, is usually a big leap. It takes a lot of emotional fortitude. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of commitment for you to make that decision. So the big leap actually is drawn from the fact that you really have to make that big jump to decide, yes, like yes, I need to start doing this. And just to mention something around the big leap also, on the other side, you realize that there are so many people who are stuck. I've met so many people who have ideas, but really they haven't put anything on the ground. And it's an inherent fear that pervades most of the people, where you have this big idea, but really you can't make any commitment to start executing that idea. And therefore, what you have is an idea. You don't have a business. And if for as long as you've not put your idea into work, then you don't have a business. That's the truth of it. So yeah, that's where the big leap came from, Eric.
Okay. Picking from chapter 2 of your book, about developing business ideas. You ask this question. Most people ask, where do I get a good business idea?
Yes. I don't know whether you are asking where people get big business ideas. Is that a question?
Yes. How do I get
Okay.
a good business idea? I may want to venture into
Mm,
business, yes, or
mm.
I may have even ideas, but how do I convert them into a business venture? So first of all, where do I get the business idea? Then how do I convert them into a meaningful venture?
Oh, great. Yeah. So first and foremost, you have to realize that a business exists to solve a problem. All right. So before you can figure out whether your idea can actually be a business, you need to ask yourself whether it solves a real existing human problem. That's a very basic first question that you have to ask. So the moment you ask that question continuously, like what problem am I solving in the community? Is there a pain, like a real pain? Because sometimes we have a very nice ideas, business ideas that I think I've gone through these many times before I woke up. Um, where you have a very idea and you think like this is the idea that is going to turn the world around. But the very basic question to ask yourself is that which human problem does my business idea solve? So the moment you cannot really answer that very clearly, you realize that maybe you might not have that your idea might not really evolve into a business. The other question that really very important to ask is that the moment you realize that your idea can actually solve a human pain or a human problem, then the other thing to ask is, as an entrepreneur, obviously, is to ask yourself, how big is the problem? All right, because the problem has to be big enough for people to buy that, and it's big in terms of the intensity of pain, like the struggles that people go through every single day, and also in terms of numbers, like how big is the market? How many people are going through that pain that you're trying to solve? Is it a bigger number of people? Is it a smaller number of people? So those are really very, very basic and honest questions that you need to ask yourself. So like I've said, number one is does my idea really solve a real human need? Not the things that we imagine, like a real human pain. All right. And also now, is it likely to be big? Do I have a bigger market? Because maybe the people who experience that pain, there are not really many people who can translate into a bigger business to help you drive revenue. So I think those are the two main things that you need to think through. And I've given an example in my book. Like for example, if you go out in town and um, you know all those Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards fans. Somebody might go there and feel like if you find those fans in the city and they're making all the noise and blowing vuvuzelas, you might feel like, oh, I think I can start probably a sports magazine and sell. It's an idea, but then you have to go down and ask yourself, if I develop this idea, how many people will buy this magazine, sports magazine, right? That probably talks about football in Kenya. So you have really to go down so that you're able to figure out whether your ideas have a larger market, because at the end of the day you have to get those numbers to drive your sales. Yes, Eric, back to you.
Okay. Yeah, there's an interesting statement here. The best business comes from people's bad experience. Can you explain that?
Oh yeah, I should have talked about that. In fact, the best business idea that you can ever have is through the pain that you go through every single day. For those people I see posting on Facebook and social media asking people to give them business ideas, and I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I have 100,000, I have 20,000. What can I do with this?" I think that's totally a wrong approach. When you're looking at your personal itch, we call it an itch, and those businesses that are built out of a personal itch, kujikuna kuna, we call them scratch and itch businesses or enterprises. So the pains that you go through, let me give you a very local example of my personal experience when I go out to the market to buy things, right? I love avocado a lot, like really a lot. So, but every time when I go to the market, chances are I always buy a bad one. All right. So, how can I translate that experience into a business? So, if you go to a local in your locality and you realize that really you don't have barber shops, there are people who live in places where you go and you really don't have a good experience. You change your barber, you go to another one, really the experience isn't good. So instead of complaining, do you know that actually is a business opportunity? You realize that the way you are complaining, there could be a lot many other people who are complaining about the same. If you go to the market and you can't get good capsicum or good onions consistently, and you realize that in that locality really people are not very conscious about quality of the product they're selling, so you can choose two things. You can either choose to think about like an entrepreneur, and really trying to see, can this pain turn out to be a business opportunity, which is absolutely born out of your personal experience, your personal interactions. And as you go about that, as you conceptualize it, as that idea crystallizes, you might realize that actually that's a business which is about to be born. As you talk to more people and discover now how many people are going through such experiences like you as a person, you realize that you might discover that that's actually a business opportunity. So that is Eric building a business, or creating an idea or business idea through a personal pain, or an itch. Or those are businesses we call uh, scratch and itch enterprises, which are born purely out of your own experiences, bad experiences, but then you decided to turn them around to be businesses. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is interesting. Huh? Uh, there's another observation I make on this. You say that your business idea doesn't have to be something complex,
Mm-hmm.
unless you are building a jet engine to complete with general electricity. So, are you
Absolutely.
trying to say that business idea is it should be that simple? And why do
100
people struggle to come up with business ideas?
I mean, 100%. The business idea it should be very, very simple. Like you've rightly mentioned, unless you want to build a jet engine to compete with the General Electric, or you want to build an airline to compete with the major airlines in the world. I mean, when I look at business opportunities and the way we should approach them, I look at them with an eye of simplicity. I look at most of the big businesses. What do they do? I mean, in my book I've given an example of McDonald's, which those guys who make burgers, right? And you can come locally and think of other bigger businesses. You can talk about Java. What do Java do, right? They sell coffee. I mean, that's their main product. When you talk about McDonald's and many other businesses, it's simple business, but then you found some a level of ingenuity in those ideas, and you've sparked a bit of creativity into them, and you've built them. Sometimes the reason why we miss on some of these simple business opportunities is because we really want to be complex, and that complexity really takes us out of the path. I don't know whether most of our viewers have noticed, like in the village where I come from, the most guys who have made money are the people who never even went to school. Those are the people who, if you ask them how to do balance sheets or P&L accounts or those things, they absolutely don't know. But see, they've really built mega businesses. They're the biggest suppliers of EABL, Unilever, and so on and so forth. They never went to school. The problem with us guys who've gone to school is it's one problem, that we really make things very complex. We want to do the maths and put down there the balances and create other Excel documents and all that. That really complicates things. All right. So if you really want to look at the business, look at it from an eye of it in the simplest form. Let me give you an example. There's a day I was just going around in the marketplace and talking to people. One of my friends who has a shop, and we were just chatting, right? And then out of curiosity, there's a woman who was passing by and she was talking to people around. And I asked my friend, who is this woman? She looks elegant. In my view, I thought maybe she's a government official. Maybe she works with the county government or something like that. Or probably she's a politician, because she would draw a lot of attention. And then my friend told me, this woman is the woman who gives loans. Like all the smaller traders, she's the one who gives loans. And then I asked, how does she do it? He told me that he actually has a tablet and a bunch of documents, and she just does it manually. So she comes to you, you are selling, let's say, clothes, you have a stall, you need 10,000 to boost your stock or whatever. And then she gives you that amount of money, and then you pay after a period of time, let's say 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And then she has thousands and thousands and thousands of customers, and she does it very casually. All right. So I would say this woman is actually building a microfinance. No matter how much she's doing it very casually. She's very manual in the way she's doing it. She's just taking records on a paper and a notebook. But in every sense, the fact that this woman has built a following or small scale traders in the marketplace, you realize that this woman is actually in the path of building a microfinance. If you look at it from that perspective, that simplicity, then you realize that actually you could be up to something. Look at somebody who would have looked at that business and going around and shopping for ideas. You realize that number one, William has to build a website. So if website is not up, there's nothing which is happening, right? I have to build an app. If an app is not up and running, nothing is happening. And for those guys, or some of us who have a lot of money, then you really want to recruit a ton of people to come and help you do things. So that really builds a lot of complexity when you're starting the business. So when I talk about really looking at business from a point of simplicity, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Looking at the simple ideas, but then you infuse another level of creativity and ingenuity into those ideas, and actually bringing out something out of those ideas. Great.
Okay. Dear viewers, this book is very rich in content, and I will ask you to, at the end of the session, to see how we can get one. I am still even asking questions on the same chapter in like 2 pages, but I have so many questions. So I don't know if I had to review the whole book, I can take a whole month. It's so rich in content. Another question I have is, you've said that there is absolutely nothing wrong in picking an existing business idea and trying to reimagine it. Do you mean we can generate business ideas from existing entrepreneur ventures?
Yes, Eric. Absolutely. We can. So there are two things. You can invent a business, which probably 99.9% of us will not be able to. Um, and that is the kind of building a business that totally doesn't exist anywhere. All right. So if you are an inventor and you really want to invent something, a product or a service that absolutely doesn't exist anywhere in the world, then will be among a very tiny fraction of such inventors. When we talk about really picking a business idea that exists and transforming it, putting a lot of creativity into it, it's about looking at the market, because every business you look at, you realize that it's broken at some point. It could be either the product side or the pricing side or distribution side. You realize there's a weakness. So when we say you can pick a business idea that exists and transform it, then that's it. You can pick a business idea that exists and put a bit of creativity into it, and then you create a new business altogether. Let me give you an example. I know most of our viewers knows ajab, which is the wheat flour, which is very common um, in our households. We use it to make chapatis and those kind of things. I remember in 2017, myself and my wife were running a small supermarket in the estate. And I remember because she is the one who was running the supermarket, I was doing other things. One time she came and she told me, there are some guys who have come and they are telling me they have a brand called Ajab and they want us to stock it. And what I told her is that there's no way we are going to stock a new brand of wheat flour, because the wheat flour market really is very it's very saturated. There's no way we are going to stock in Kenya, especially where the consumers are very much brand driven. There's no way we are going to stock for somebody a wheat flour that is not known. And then that's it. The guys kept coming, and really we never give them any business. If you look at today, because that time Ajab was just starting. If you look at it today, you realize that Ajab has taken the market. So what happened? I interviewed actually two of the sales executives who worked with Ajab, and that is like I interviewed them like 2 years ago. Yeah, in one of the businesses that we had started outsourcing stuff for organizations. And then out of curiosity, I just asked them, how did the Ajab really get the market share that they have today? And they told me that Ajab took advantage of the erratic distribution system that is there in the market to beat the big players. And they started at the grassroots, they started in the villages, smaller towns, and then they grew towards cities. And because, of course, they had a fantastic product and their pricing probably was really great, they captured the market. So in my view, they figured out how to take advantage of the distribution system. And then they won. They won in the market. So if you look at it that way, you realize that you can actually get into a business that exists, pick an idea of somebody who is running a similar business. We call those fast followers. Actually, fast followers are people who are able to pick the existing business ideas, transform them, put a little bit of creativity into them, add more value, and kind of recreate that same business in a completely new way. And you can build your business around customer service if that is what is missing in the market. Look at brand manufacturers, for example. That should give us a very good indication. Look at brand manufacturers. Look at bottled water guys. How many brands we have in the market? Like hundreds, if not thousands of them. But each of them is really doing well. I mean, they're reporting profits. They are doing well in their own capacity, wherever they are, whether they're in Eldoret or in smaller markets, they are doing fine. All right. So that's it. Picking a new idea and transforming it, putting in creativity and growing that. But whenever we talk about picking existing business ideas, we are not really talking about replication, like you take a business and then the way what are they called, the guys who sell mobile phones. Today unapata somebody has put a shop here, somebody has come, then following day has put another shop next, and you're just selling the same products. There's no value add in that. So that's not what I'm talking about. So in my book, I've talked about 3 key areas that you need to think through. And one is pricing. So can we do it at a better price? So same quality or better quality at the same price or better price. Can you deliver it? Can you make it better? Or can you make it much faster, which means that you can take that product to the customer much faster, or you can deliver that service much quicker than your competitors. And the moment you figure out any of those three things, if you can figure one or two of those things, three things, then you're good. You could actually win a large market share within that particular segment that you're targeting. Mhm.
Okay. Now you may come up with a business idea and it's so exciting, and you get started,
Yes.
but it doesn't excite the masses the way it excites you. In your book, you have talked about understand that it is a lonely venture, being an entrepreneur. Be ready to be alone and comfortable that way. Can you shed more light on that?
Yeah, there are actually two things, Eric, on what you've asked. One is around if you build a product and you take it to the market. Whenever you take a product to the market, what you're doing is that you're telling the customer, "Hey, I have a new product. Please test it and give me feedback." All right. And there's something in when we are doing startups that we call build. We call it build, measure, learn loop, which simply means that you build the product at a very small scale, take it to the market, hear what customers are saying first before you invest tons of money. Build the product in a very small scale, take it to the market, and then let customers tell you what they think about the product. Then come back with that feedback, improve the product. With that strategy of building a smaller version of your product and taking it to the market, what that does is that it helps you learn what the market is saying well in advance before you make more investments. You realize that most people actually ban and resign out of business just because they made a huge investment before even engaging the market and understanding what the market is saying. So that build um, build, measure, learn loop, that really helps you a lot. So let me give you an example. Let's say one of the very creative entrepreneurs has come up with an idea, and I've said that I want to build or to bake a donut that does not have a hole in the middle and take it to the market. It's a good idea because the donuts that we know have a hole in the middle, right? But you don't know absolutely how customers will react. Maybe you might go and tell the customers like, "Hey, see, I've brought you a donut which does not have a hole in the middle. So that piece that those guys have been taking in the middle and cheating you, I've returned it. So I've brought you a new donut which is a hole, is full." All right, but really you don't know what customers will say. So the best thing is just do a smaller scale. Let's say, for example, do one bucket, take it to the market, and then talk to the customers. How is it? Is it good? Do you like it? Is the pricing okay? Would you rather have it as a circle the way it used to be, or can we make it as a square? Something. Talk to customers about it, then come back and incorporate that feedback. So you grow with the customers, and getting their feedback continuously, and with that now you really don't risk losing a lot of money. The challenge we have with some of our entrepreneurs now is that you are really pumped up and you're very excited, and you go to up marketplaces, you get a bigger office, you hire all the teams that you need, you import equipment from China, but then by the time you start making a product and taking it to the market, you realize that the customers doesn't want it. But what happens, because you signed a 1-year lease in the office, you brought the baking equipment from China worth millions, you've hired all these people who are eating your money. What do you do at that point? You really decide, you really get discouraged, and you decide because you've spent a lot of money. The inverse of it is you just do it slowly, and if possible, do it yourself. And the beauty about what is happening now is you can do things from your house. Um, Before, when I was starting one of my businesses, I set up an office in the Westlands because I really wanted to excite my clients. I'd always made sure that whenever I'm meeting a client, I'll just make sure that I mention where our office is. We are located at the Mirage Towers. That is along Chiromo Road, next to where Kempiske is. Big guy, Uh, but assuming that we went all big like that, and we are really going to excite clients, and they don't give us business, what happens? At the end of the day, you are paying hell a lot of money for rent. And that is coming from your pocket because the customers haven't given you even a single check um, to take care of your business. So that is one thing that you need to look to look for. So the other thing, Erick, can you rephrase your question again, please?
Yeah, I was saying you have indicated that the journey for business can be such a lonely venture.
Yes.
So, can you tell us maybe the scenario?
Um, it is lonely in the sense that you really have to put effort. Like, for example, it's like when you have a small baby, you have really to put a lot of effort. What people think whenever they are starting the business is that when you are starting, you really have all the luxury. That is not true, right? There's a lot of hours that you have to put. If you really want to get something out of that, you really have to commit and do real hard work. You have to put hours. That's it, right? There's no way you are going to work like 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, and then you get things going. You really have to work hard, and that's it. You have to really work hard. So when you are putting your time and your energy and your resources into your business, that is your focus. You realize that most of the times people who were your friends, they vacate you. Why? Because you really don't have time for weekend nyamachoma in Ivasha or Kikope. You don't have money because all your monies are being channeled to your business. If, for example, now let's say you've resigned from your job, like I've done a few times, and you've started your business, it means like you don't have a paycheck. Paycheck gives us a bit of comfort. So if you've resigned from your business and you really don't have that regular income, so you are just putting every effort to see that your business starts generating some income, then all your friends vacate you, so you might feel lonely. Why? Because the people that were closer to you, that you used to go for manyama choma or drinks over the weekend, they're no longer there. That's the fact. They'll move on. They'll find new allegiance. They're like politicians. They'll vacate you and find new partners. All right, the people who have time and money, that's it. So you have really to have that in mind so that you don't get discouraged when you feel like when you're locked yourself in and there are no calls coming in, or those people who used to ride along with you over the weekend are not there. So you really need to have that consciousness so you don't feel like the world has crashed or something wrong is happening. It's just natural. You are just working on your things, and those people who are enjoying your free money on drinks, when that's not there, they'll just move on and get new partnerships to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I think I'm picking from your conversation. Building a business also needs serious investment. You invest time, energy, emotions, and then also capital. There's an interesting uh, the way you have addressed capital in this book. Most of us know capital as maybe money to start business. Yeah. But I see you talk about capital can be your attitude, capital can be your knowledge and willingness to learn, capital can be your willingness to succeed, capital can be your resilience, capital can be your prayers, capital can be your discipline, capital can be your association, capital can be levels
Mm,
of commitment.
yes.
Kindly elaborate. We know
Yeah.
capital as money to start business.
Tough thing. Yeah. So look at it from this perspective. When you're building the business, um, when you're building the business, and you know, you are looking at investors to bring in the dollars. Let's say, for example, used to your little income, and you just want to build that business up to a particular level, so that you get to that point where you can tell investors, hey, come, now you can give me money to invest. So what is it that investors are looking for? I think that's a question. Obviously, they're not looking at money, they're looking at you as an entrepreneur. They're looking at the commitments that you made. How far has this guy come? um, what effort has this guy put in? This is a guy who sold a bed to start his business, so this guy is really serious. All right. This is a guy who has leveraged all the other resources that are not monetary within the marketplace to build the business. So that's the thing that you need to look at. So, and that's why you realize that actually one of the ways to fail in a business is to have too much money at the start, which is kind of a paradox. If you have a lot of money at the start, chances of you squandering that money are really high. So that's why we're saying that really capital is not about money, it's about the hours that you invest in your business. Is about what level of commitment do you have towards what you're doing. It's about who are your associations, the people who are giving you support, your networks. Let me give you an example. When I wrote this book, Erick, the very first people I reached to were my networks, right? I haven't invested. I've invested zero money in marketing. So the networks that you built comes in as a capital, because that's is something that really supports your business at the start. So the message is that there are so many other things that you need beside the capital, and I think you've elaborated them very well, including prayers that you make for those people who pray, like myself. So the prayers that you make, that is also an investment you're making. If you don't know, that time that you commit, that is an investment it's a capital that you're putting into that particular business. So outside of the capital that we know, money, there are other kinds of capital that you also need to think about that overall contributes to the success of whatever it is that you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, Benard, if you're around, I invite you to ask a few questions. Now, you have talked about you have not invested so much in selling of this book. Let's in your book, chapter 7, you talk about selling. Nothing happens until a sale is made. Most people begin, let me say, they come up with a product, a service, but selling that product or service is the problem. How do you advise them?
Yeah. So the short answer is that you have to sell. That's it. I mean, there is no shortcut about it. If somebody will tell you that you build a product and you don't have to sell, then that person has lost you. You really have to sell. That's it. That's the hard truth, but that's how it is, and you have to embrace that. Sales is what brings revenue in organizations, and sales is talking about your product. I remember for some of the businesses that have started, I've really been there, like really doing sales, like sales. I remember even one time when we were at the Mirage, the Mirage Towers. It's a large office complex thing, and it has so many offices. So we would spend a lot of time going to visit other businesses in the industrial area and all that, and calling. And then one day, I sat with my core marketer, the lady I was, who was always on tour, following me whenever we are doing pitching for sales. And then I asked her one morning, why is it that we are not talking to our neighbors, organizations which are here, and telling them what we do, and probably they will, buy from us, because anyway we are neighbors, and they might be softer on us by virtue of us being neighbors. And we went through many offices within the complex. But then at some point I sat down and I figured like maybe I'm not meeting the right people who are decision makers, because I wasn't really getting those conversions that I needed. Um, and then I just started one crazy thing. So what I will do, because I realized that those guys would come, the big guys who make decisions in those organizations, they will come very early in the morning, like from between 6 and 7. That's the time when they will come to the office. So what I will do, I will just pick my catalog and business card, and just wait at the lift downstairs. The building has 13 floors, right? So I'll just wait downstairs, and then whenever I see a guy who looks like a senior executive, like a chairman or an MD or a CEO of an organization, whenever I see him come with his nice leather bag and gets into the lift, I also get in the lift with him. And then immediately I start a conversation. Hi, sir. My name is William. We are actually doing recruitment for organizations. We support organizations with sales. If you'd like to see what we are doing, kindly just have a catalog and my business cards. We are at the 13th floor, office number this. By the time the guy gets out, maybe at the second floor or third floor, I've already talked to him. And guess what? It worked like William, you were crazy, but it worked, and I got to meet so many people who and we got through that. Within 1 week, we got like 4 clients out of that crazy thing. So you have to sell. In other words, that's what I'm saying. You have to figure out how you want to sell, and the beauty about it nowadays is that we have social media. I think it has made things much easier. You can do marketing out there. You can take the message out there to people, and then let them know what you deal with, the product or the service that you're offering. But then also, I mean, when it comes now to human interaction, you have to be there. You have to show up and explain exactly how your service works. So yeah, Eric, I think, and to our viewers, I think marketing, sales, you have really to step out there and do sales. We normally say that the some of the greatest business leaders we have in the world also happens to be the greatest salespeople. You have to just talk about what you do, because that's what you do. You have to meet the people that you want to convert to be your customers. If you're selling ice cream, you have to meet people who potentially will buy your ice cream and tell them, hey, my name is so and so. I do ice cream. Please, would you like to have a taste and see how it goes? So it's just simple. And without sales, you don't have revenue. Without revenue, you don't have a business. So you have to do the hard stuff.
Okay, let me ask this question, then give Abok a chance to ask also a few questions. You have given a very good illustration in your book, somewhere page 114. You talk about 2% of the sales are made on the first call. 3% of the sales are made on the second call. 5% of the sales are made on the third call. 10% of the sales are made on the fourth call. 80% of the sales are made on the fifth call. Unfortunately, 48% of salespeople quit after the first call. 25% quit after the second call. 12% quit after the third call. And 5% quit after the fourth call. 10% made that fifth call or more. So kindly talk to the viewers.
Okay. Great. So that illustrates basically the effort that we have to make in order to, to convert the client. For those guys who've been in the market doing sales, you realize that hardly do you convert a client at the first call. Hardly do you convert a client at the second call. I've done cold calling for like a lot of time. And usually sometimes it takes a lot of effort. You have to follow up with another call and another call. So for those people who are quitting after making the first call or the second call, you miss a lot. Because you know what happens with the client whenever you're making the first call, you haven't, they don't know you. You're a stranger. In fact, most of us fear calling because, I mean, this person can't see your face and you're trying to introduce yourself. You're a stranger. This client is a stranger to you. You are a stranger to your client. So that first connection, that first call, is basically to build a rapport. So chances are somebody will tell you, like what I've had most of the time, um, okay, do you have something that you can send me, a PDF or a catalog or something on an email that I can look at, and then I make a decision. That's usually the standard feedback you get from the client from the first call. And then now when you make the second call, because like you sent all that the client wanted, whenever you make the second call, the client tells you, hey, who am I speaking to? And then now you are kind of trying to introduce yourself again. You know, I'm William. We talked 2 weeks ago about this, and oh yeah, I remember. Sorry, I'm rushing into a meeting. Please, can you call me? Do you mind calling me tomorrow morning? So in other words, the client is just playing cat and mouse. That's how it works. So for you really to convert that client, you have to build that rapport and get to that level where they're absolutely confident, and you build that personal relationship, that they can say, okay, yes, come and see me. Let's see what you are into. And then move on now to another phase where they finally can give you some business. So that's the cycle. So sometimes most people drop within the first and second or third call, and they really don't get to convert that client, and they lose on that. Mhm.
Okay. Welcome, Benard Abok. We are continuing with sparking our entrepreneurial journey. We are doing the big leap as a theme of the book. Dear viewers, you can continue making your comments at the comment section, ask questions, and we will channel them to the author. So, Abok, you can ask a few questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Wekesa. I hope I'm loud enough to be heard.
You are.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, our guest. First, apologies for joining late. I got caught up somewhere, and again, so I was not able to join as we had planned earlier. Thank you for the work that you've done in terms of consolidating your ideas, the experience, and putting them down in a book. Because through books, we are told that we are conversing with great minds which existed many, many, many years ago. So I would want to imagine you, uh, uh, you are no longer existing, but we or other people will still continue to interact with your experience, your thoughts. In books, somehow we feel like we are talking to the author or we are just seated next to the author, yet they are not there. So thank you so much for even taking the big leap of publishing it so that it can also guide others. Well, my questions are going to come from the point where I got you explaining. Probably I'm also going to interact with your book a little more so that maybe next time in a different forum or in this forum, we can continue to interrogate and engage more. But I got you talking about actually the issue of sales and salesmanship. And Wekesa asked you a question about people developing products which they cannot sell. In other words, they find themselves with the product and then pushing it through the market, not knowing whether it is what the market wants or not. For them, they have produced and it has to go through the market. And I believe listening to your explanations, that alone is enough reason for any company, any entrepreneur not to make any sale because they have produced something out of their own imagination. In farming, we call it farming what you are able to farm, but you are not producing what you can sell. So you find yourself stuck with your products. Now, my question is, uh, how would you look at the issue of product research and development before someone gets into the market? There are those 6 or 7 product development processes, and I just want you maybe to talk about the role of research in developing products that can easily be sold as opposed to uh, products that we just copycat and move on with to the market. One challenge which I feel as an entrepreneur is that the product development process has got stages, but many entrepreneurs actually uh, hop, step, and jump to development and marketing without looking at the previous stages. So, um, in your own understanding, do you think as part of capital should be placed so much on product research and development?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's really a good question, Abok. Um, Definitely, because I think product fails when they go to the market. Um, Not because the product isn't good, but because the customers really, there isn't any pain that that product is addressing to the customer. If the customers cannot perceive the value, um, then you realize that they are not likely to buy it. And when we talk about value perception, it is about customer asking that the product that I'm paying this much Kenya shillings or this much dollars, is it worth it? Is this what I'm supposed to pay for it? And it becomes a lot harder now because customers have a lot of choices to make. So the moment the customer cannot figure out the value of the product, and is the value in terms of um, what need does this product satisfy in my life, and is it worth the amount of money I'm paying? You realize that customers aren't able to connect with that product. So from back to your question, I'll say yes, that part of product development is very, very, very important. But also there is something that we call, where you take your product to the market early enough. We always say that as an entrepreneur, don't lock yourself in a room and try to perfect a product before you take it out to the market, because the product might really be good, but there are other things that customers cannot perceive. And therefore, you really want to incorporate their feedback into the product development process. All right. So we normally talk about MVP, which is the minimum viable product, which is the very basic form of your product that you want to take to the market, so that you get as much feedback from your client as possible. And then you incorporate that into your product development cycle. Usually, you realize that the problem isn't even about um, the product development per se. Is about is this product built for the client? And you cannot answer that question until when you bring the client or the customer into the product development process. And that is just getting their feedback. So you do the minimum basic form of your product, take it to the market, get feedback, come back, do some iterations, then take it back again like that. The moment you take the product to the market, eventually you realize that you've really captured as much feedback from your clients as possible, and that's tremendously increases the chances of your product getting acceptance in the market. And I know organizations now are building that capacity where they are able to not only build a really perfect product, but also getting that product to interact with the customers at the very early stages of development, so they're able to incorporate that feedback into the product development process. And that reduces a lot of risk. And I know most organizations, including big corporate organizations like Safaricom, they are very heavy on user testing. What is the customer saying about this app, this M-Pesa app that you built? Taking it out there, getting a sample of users who test it, bring it back, and incorporate that feedback and so on and so forth. So I don't know whether that sufficiently answered your question, Abok.
Yeah, thank you, William, for explaining on or expounding on the question. It's very important that we also get to learn the role that research is playing in developing products that are fit for the market, as opposed to producing ones that are fit for our factory but are not fit for the market. There are those ones that meets all the requirements of the standards in place, and then when taken to the market, it's something else. So I thought maybe it was necessary to talk about it. The other question, before I go to my own question, there is one of our viewers who is called Stella. Stella is asking me to ask you, what triggered you to write The Big Leap?
Okay, awesome question. So thank you, Stella. I think it was that need to document my experiences. I have been writing articles on LinkedIn, on Medium, but then I got to that point where I felt like I need to document my experiences, because the book really contains my experiences working in multiple organizations, startup organizations across these markets, and also trying my own businesses, which I've done many times, and with a mix of successes and failures. I think that urge just to share the knowledge, document my experiences through a book, that was really the primary motivation to put this book together.
Okay, thank you, Stella. I hope you are well answered. Actually, just to summarize what William has said, he just found the need to consolidate and put his ideas, experiences, and skills into a book, which can also be can help those other people who are trying to get themselves into entrepreneurship journey. The second question is, you've talked about sales, and sales is very, very important. In fact, I want to agree with you 100% that without sales, there are no revenues, and without revenue, there is no business. Companies invest in salespeople or sales and marketing. And in the process of making sales, you realize that according to even what you have documented in your book about the statistics and the data which you outlined about the percentages of sales that are made by specific attempts. And my question is, I was once involved in sales at one point in time. And really, if you don't have a very big heart for people, then you may not be there as a salesperson. You've actually mentioned some of the frustrations, some of the resistance salespeople face in the market. And because you have highlighted some of them, what would you give us ways of overcoming resistance to making sales? Because we are here just to help one another, to help those who would like to improve themselves, to improve their salesmanship. So in case of such resistance to making sales, a salesperson is always under pressure. You also have some immediate person who is putting pressure on you. Where are the numbers? Numbers don't add up. Yeah. So how can they overcome some of this resistance to sales making?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really a great question, Abok. I think one thing that we need to reassess and clarify is that as salespeople, we should be looking at it from the perspective that, because we are really in a rush to close a sale, right? I would say we should actually be focusing on opening a relationship, and not closing a sale, because I think the mindset of closing a sale is what makes us miss on some of the things. In terms of overcoming resistance, I think there wouldn't be any um, what do we call it? Um, One singular answer to that. But what I would say is that just understanding what your customer wants. So, what is your customer pain? When we are doing startups, we normally build what we call customer persona, and the customer persona is just really trying to understand, who am I trying to sell to? What is their age? What do they like? What are they looking at? If it's a CEO, for example, if I meet a CEO of a company, what would concern that CEO most? All right. How do I frame that so that what I'm selling fits into the organization's pain? Usually, companies, they want to know that it's either two things. It's either you're selling them a solution so that they can cut on their costs, or you are selling them a solution that helps them improve their revenue. Those are two main things that they're actually looking at all the time. So when you're selling a product, I think it's just to ask yourself, this solution that I'm selling, will it be helping this organization? If it's a kind of a B2B solution, like you're selling to an organization, is to ask yourself, so what is the pain points of this organization? All right. What do they struggle with most? Usually, when you are building a pitch, it's good you start with the pain, just a broader pain on how the industry is, and what you think is the pain for the organizations within the industry. The moment you start with the pain, then you start connecting with that person. It's just like you going to the hospital um, and you have, let's say, for example, back pain. All right. Um, and the doctor asks you, are you feeling any pain on your back? Kind of, you say, yeah, I'm really feeling a lot of pain on my back. So kind of you start connecting. So the moment you look at at the person that you're selling, and you start now from their pain coming backwards. So it's not like you're selling a product. You're kind of telling them, I understand your pain, and I have a solution to your pain. The moment you do that, then they're able to connect with your product. But if you're not able really to point out their pain and why they need that product, then highly unlikely you really struggle to make a sale from that. All right. If you go to a hospital, again, let me give you an example. If you go to a hospital, for most people who fear injections, if the doctor really doesn't explain to you, like, this disease, if we really don't get you an injection, it's really going to get worse and you're likely to be admitted. If they don't tell you that, you're likely to tell them, are there not tablets that can give me instead of an injection? All right. Because they've not really taken time to explain to you why you need an injection. All right. So the moment you come from, you do kind of a role play and you understand where the customer is and what is their pain, and then now you come back where you're offering a solution to a pain they can identify with. So for me, that's the best way you can always beat the resistance. Usually the reason for the resistance is because the person that you're selling to hasn't been able to identify the solution the pain that your solution will offer. It's just like, for example, if typically I'm that one guy who doesn't like to be sold insurance products. um, you know and I guess it's just because I haven't understood, like, why am I buying why am I paying for 10 years for education cover or something? You know, Somebody hasn't taken, because they are so keen to close a sale. That's it. They just come and they really want to quick money. And at the end of the day, I don't accept, because I haven't understood what pain their solution is trying to solve. I don't understand the pain for which I'm paying my money for. So I think Abok, that is one of the main areas where we can really try to cover so that we reduce the level of rejection on this on the sales side. Before you go to the next question, I think also it's good for our viewers to understand that whenever you get, so sales guys, they say that whenever you get a no, it means next opportunity, right? Because there are so many no's that you ever get yes, and it's universal. There's nowhere where you just go and yes, right? There's a research that was done by some guys, and they were saying that they did a research, and they were saying that um, for every 5 yes, you're likely to get 1,500 no's. All right. So you can imagine the level of no's that you get as a salesperson, which is absolutely normal. So the moment you don't make it personal, so that it really doesn't crash your self-esteem, because there are people who, it's more like when you get annoyed, it becomes a personal thing and kind of lowers your self-esteem, and it makes it harder for you now to approach the next client. I don't know whether this is the right example to use, but I don't know when you approach a gala and um, um, you talk to the girl and the girl says no, and then another one, and another, kind of your esteem comes down. So if you let that weigh down on you, then I mean you really be very miserable, I would say.
Okay, thank you, William. I think you've given or you've used a good example of a girl, and I would want also maybe to use it differently. I think a genuine client will always try to ask so many questions, and most of the time we may look at the most questions as a way of saying no to our attempt to make a sale. But I was also told that the best and the most genuine client will always ask questions. If I use an example of a girl, if I approach a girl today and she says yes straight away, then I would also go back and ask myself several questions. Is that girl really straight, or something wrong with the girl? Yeah. So just as a rejoinder of what you are saying, salespeople should look at no as a way of as the first step of making that sale. And I've not gone through that part of statistics or in your book, which Wekesa read or highlighted, but I hope it seems it's very, very interesting looking at it. Maybe my final question before I hand over to Wekesa is most of the times, again, still on sales, and sorry, Wekesa, I am dwelling on this because it's the only department in an organization which is making or bringing life to any venture. Without money, the company is dead. So there is this idea that most people tend to think that after making a sale, I'm done with the client. After all, nimepokea pesa yake, and now I have no interest with. I just want you to stress the need or the issue of follow-ups in sales. Follow-ups, is it very important? After all, I've sold you my idea, my product. Why do I need to follow up with you, whether you are satisfied or not?
Yeah, I think that's really a very fantastic question. We have to look at sales from this perspective that we need to build sales in perpetuity, more sustainably, for the organization to thrive. All right. If you're looking at a sale like a hit and run perspective, then you're not likely really to have that repeat business. And repeat business, usually when you look at the cost of customer acquisition, for those guys who are in marketing who looks at cost of customer acquisitions, and they are busy looking at how much goes into that. There's a lot of cost that goes into customer acquisition. You can think about a client who is based in, let's say, at the river, for example. And maybe you are coming from, let's say, Thika, and you're going to see that client. And you have to go there several times for you to close that deal. If you calculate the time that you waste, and you paid for that time, if you look at the cost of logistics, facilitation, and all the costs that we make to acquire that client, it's quite a lot of money. All right. Vis-a-vis looking at it from the fact that the customer that you've converted, if that customer is satisfied, then you are assured that you have a repeat client. Like the customers you've won in the past, they are customers who cost you actually. It's not easy for businesses which are starting to be called by a client. Usually we call, even when we offer the service and we stayed for a couple of weeks, we call again and say, hey, nothing else has come. But for the businesses that have really built a relationship, you realize that you can get called, which is the best thing ever for you as far as yourself and the customer relationship is concerned. So I think as a business, people is really thinking through, like, in terms of sales continuity and building a really healthy pipeline, you need to be sure that you need to follow that client for feedback, to know how they, was the service or the product, was it good? Is that something that you could do better? And the customers actually really appreciate that. The moment you go to them and ask them, hey, how was that product? Is that something probably that you'd suggest we do better than we did last time? Customers absolutely appreciate that kind of conversation. So if you can go back and talk to clients and build that repeat business, then you can be sure that really you are building a very healthy sales pipeline, as opposed to where, because there is, if you are that kind of person who calls the client and then you get the business, and then once you cashed out that transaction, you go out, then really you never ever build any meaningful sales, because it takes a lot of effort to win a new customer into your business.
Okay, thank you, William. I'm reminded that follow-up is the next step, is the first step for your next sale from the same client.
Yes, and that's why
is yeah, you continue.
And that's why you realize that for businesses which have really well structured sales process, you realize that they have account managers. They have frontline salespeople, those guys who are hunters. They are hunting for new business clients, but also they are account managers. Account managers are those guys who actually maintains the existing accounts. All the organizations, like most structured organizations, they have account managers or account executives. Those people who they're pretty much in charge of relationships. They're those people who makes those soft calls, those people who makes those soft visits, nice things, to ensure that the client is happy, and also they're able to get the feedback from the client for that sustainability, which is very important. Yes, Abok, go on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's very, very important. And Wekesa knows this, that you need to do follow-up. Probably Wekesa tomorrow go do follow-up, because they have your clients. One last thing from me is there are so many young people, there are so many people, and including the old, who have got business ideas. Basically, they just have ideas. In short, I can talk of they have generated a lot of ideas, and they are probably looking at how to turn their ideas into something that can earn them money. What advice would you give them at this point in time? Yeah.
My advice for those guys with the ideas is simple: just go do the thing. That's it. Just start doing it. Whatever idea you have, because an idea is just an idea. I mean, we all have ideas. I've said that if an idea was worth just 1 cent, then we would all be very wealthy, because we have too many ideas, like tons and tons of ideas. So to turn your idea into business, you have to go out there and do it. Just start doing it from that level. Usually what challenges us is that doing part, just starting doing. It's not really about like you need to put an office or a manufacturing plant, or you have to have all these technologies, and it's far from that. The fact is that the moment you start doing, that's when you start having that's when you start learning a lot. That's when you start discovering what you wouldn't have discovered. That's when you start now building the business each and every day. So my advice is just start doing the thing. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Probably I'll ask you the last question, but I'll give it back to Wekesa.
Okay, as we come to the closure of the session, I just want to get a feedback on what the readers of the book have said, and those who have received the copy. We have Benard Muturi, anasema, thank you William, I got the book. Let me now read and digest. Muturi amepata yake. We have here Purity, anaiangalia tu, iko poa. So she has received her copy. It's yeah. We have Irene. Irene anasema, congratulations Mburuku, I got my copy. I will start reading soon. Thank you. We have KL of Africa. Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in the 8th, you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. So I think he's talking about casting your bread in many waters. You can invest in different ventures. You never know which one will survive a period. There are those who did not know that there will come a pandemic like COVID. But those who are diversified, there are those ventures that survived this period. Like Abok was the only person who could come to Machakos. Me, I could not come because he was an essential service. He was an essential service and I was not. So he had a privilege of, he had the bragging rights. Okay. MD anasema nini? MD anasema words from William Mburuku, author of the Big Leap, anasema reading quality content enriches the spirit of your imagination. Reading quality content enriches the spirit of your imagination. Wow, that's a great quote. Yeah, so I can assure you that if you get your copy, you will enjoy. You will enjoy. There are deeper insights in this book. I have just seen another one here. An entrepreneur is a hunter, constantly looking for ideas. They pick business ideas from ordinary conversation. Wow. We can just be discussing and an entrepreneur picks ideas. By the way, somebody said that when we have a rally at Uhuru Park, a business person will carry njuku, karanga, because he knows there will be many people and probably they will need something to buy. But another person may carry stones because he thinks there will be fracas. So an entrepreneur will see an opportunity. There are people who will not see that opportunity. I think those insights are in this book. There's something else I wanted to comment, to read. A great business idea is the one that solves a real existing human need in a given market. Yeah, find the need and connect it to the solution. You'll be an entrepreneur. Thank you so much, William, for giving us your time. Now, let me do the last two slides for you to guide us. This one, where do we, how much is your book? What, and where do we get it?
Yes, the book is 1,000 hand copy. We also have it available on Kindle. The price is more like the same. And the Kindle is an e-copy for especially those people who might be far away and getting a hard copy is difficult. So 1,000 is available. So we are doing, we can ship anywhere within this country. So it's available, and all you need to do is just get in touch with me through a mobile phone, through social media. I'm very active on Facebook and LinkedIn. So anyone who is willing, you can always get in touch with me, and I'll be able to facilitate how you get your copy. It's 1,000 and shipping countrywide. So Erick,
Okay.
I don't know. Yes.
There was something else. Is it available on Amazon?
Yes, it is. The Kindle copy, which is an e-copy, is available on Amazon.
Oh, okay. So are you able to share your contacts, or they're private?
I can actually share my contacts. They're not private. I use them privately, but they're not private.
Okay.
So
yeah, because I've seen one person was trying to share his contact. I think if you can share yours, you may receive feedback from people who want a copy.
Okay, great. So I can be reached on 0711 307576. 0711 307576. So those are my contacts. And also I'm on Facebook, and so William Mukaria can get me on Facebook and also on LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah, and we are coming now to the end of this session. We are grateful for our viewers, our fuller following. Sasa Shiponi ametuma namba hapo. I think I will share, and then you can see how you can get in touch with the, I don't know, that name is he or she, for the, maybe the copy. He or she may need a copy. Stella was following, Mutai, NC was following, and others who are watching on different, there are those who are on YouTube and those who are on Facebook. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for our resident panelists, Abok, for helping us canvas through different questions. And thank you so much for William Mukaria. Hiyo jina huwa inanisumbua kupronounce. Yeah. I think that was just episode 1. We may at some other point also do another, because we only reviewed like 1 or 2 topics, but we will keep the conversation going on. Our aim is to inform the society and to educate, actually, and to transform. Such books really transform lives. I can confess that the information that I've gotten in this book shall transform what I'm doing. He has emphasized so much on sales. Most people do ventures, but they are not salespeople. They are actually delivery people, and some just hawk their products. But you need to get information on what a salesperson is, because salesperson can still sell pork in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we have seen people selling pork in Saudi Arabia because they are real salespeople. Uh, you have a comment, Abok?
Maybe Abok wanted to say that a salesperson can sell ice cream to the Eskimos in Iceland.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
maybe as my closing remarks, I just want to say thank you to William. And William, I don't have the copy of your book, so you might consider me as one of those people you have sold to. So just make sure it reaches me, um, even through Wekesa. Wekesa is my guarantor. So anywhere where I've not paid any debt, they are always going to Wekesa.
Mm.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the insights. Thank you so much for actually putting your thoughts, experiences, and skills into a book, which we can now scramble for just to read and uh, get transformed. And even for the viewers, I think this book is very, very important. Actually, the title itself is The Big Leap. And that is very, should even encourage everyone that we need to take that big leap in life. If you have been sitting on idea, then this is the time to take that big step. If you've been procrastinating to do something, this is the time. So I think we are going to engage more and more so that we can bring closer some of these big minds to our audience. Thank you so much.
So we want to stay at the backstage and give William Mukaria just a moment to speak to our viewers. In summary, what he thinks they need to do, even those who are doing or thinking of starting small ventures or are in small ventures. Before you do that, let me ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Will you be the best-selling author?
Yeah, definitely. But also helping youth to convert all these ideas into really tangible business. So in fact, we are also working with a lot of youth right now. So I'm looking at it, other than just being an author, also is about using those ideas really to translate into real businesses on the ground that creates employment and income for our youth.
Okay, now you can make your parting shots.
Okay, great. So first, thank you so much, our viewers, for working with us through that session. And thank you, Abok. Thank you, Eric, for that conversation. Really loved it. So as a parting shot, what I would say is for those people who are viewing us, and this is a conversation that I normally have with young entrepreneurs whenever we have some of these sessions, is that the jobs are becoming more scarce as we move along. When I looked at the statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and this is not to scare anyone, we have around 1 million youth who join the job market each and every year. Out of these, it's around 30 or 35% that are able to join get the jobs, which means that it's only a fraction which gets a chance to join the workforce. So the question is, where do the rest of our youth go? All right. We have a lot of unemployment in our country. And whenever we talk about entrepreneurship, what we are saying is that we really want to get into that space where we are creating an alternative pathway where the youth and those people who really want to move into business can actually do so and make money and support their families and be useful to their communities and create employment for other youth. That's what this book is all about. So make sure you grab your copy, but more importantly also ensure that you put it into use. Those ideas, those practical thoughts, those practical experiences, just put them into work. And around business, because I've met so many people who have really brilliant ideas, but they haven't done anything about them. So the thing is, nothing will happen if all you have is an idea and you're not willing to put your thoughts on the ground. If you're not willing to get on the ground and do the real thing, absolutely nothing will happen. All that you'll have is an idea, all right? And the world is revolving. So you really need to wake up, like today, that idea just in the form it is, with the little money that you have, just start doing something at that level. And then what will surprise you is that that small business that you start will start growing slowly by slowly. You start seeing results. And those results are coming just because you made a decision to get on the ground and do something about it. So I think those will be my parting shot. If you have an idea that you've been sitting on for such a long period of time, just, wake up, go and start doing. Because by doing, that's where a business is built. That's where you get to learn. That's where you get to interact with your customers. That's where you learn how to even build your product much in a much better way. That's how a business is built generally. So you have to do the doing thing. So Erick, I think, and our viewers, I think those will be my parting shot. And I've given my contacts for those who would like to get a copy. You can always reach out to me, and the business of knowing how to reach out to you is my business. Thank you.
And we come to the end of this session. Honorable Mtua Ndeto says, good program, keep it on. Wafula says, well elaborated, Wekesa. So we come to the end of this session, and we will have the current affairs session coming after this. Have a lovely night.